Hi everybody and welcome to our live stream. We have two exciting guests today for our World of Wi-Fi chat. We have Vladislav Martynov from Ethereum Foundation, who's advisor to Ethereum Foundation, and we have Ilya Yashin, who's the CEO of World Wi-Fi, and we have a wide-ranging topics to discuss today. We'll start with sharing economy, lots of exciting news there, and we'll go to blockchain and all the news in the crypto market. We'll take a look at some stable currencies. There were a lot of questions about that yesterday, and we'll finish up with some news from World of Wi-Fi. So let's talk a little about you guys. Please introduce yourself really fast.
I'm an entrepreneur, an investor, and head of Ethereum Competence Center in Russia. We try to help all kind of different startups and companies to find its way, their own way into blockchain. So, and I also invest in some startups myself. So this type of things I'm doing.
Ilya?
Hello, I'm Ilya Yashin. I'm a co-founder and CEO of World Wi-Fi project. Last 17 years I in IT technologies. My first software I built when I was 12. Now I work in World Wi-Fi and work with blockchain and in sharing economy. Sure.
So let's start with that. Let's talk. Take a look at sharing economy in general. We certainly all know about Uber. We know about Airbnb. Those are huge companies, great success there. But is the real value there sort of done? Is there a future? Do we have growth left? And what role do you think sort of blockchain plays in the whole ecosystem? Vladislav, you want to kick it off?
Well, obviously, sharing economy is growing and has a great potential. And well, for the simple reasons like it's more efficient, it's more economically attractive to consumers. Instead of trying to possess a certain assets, you can just use certain services when you need it and at relatively low cost. So it becomes quite disruptive or revolutionary trend in the way people consume services or products. So and particular with kind of internet development and adoption and all kind of technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and many others. The sharing economy basically has great potential to be big within relatively short period of time, like within next few years. It's not like far away from where we are. So I think I'm very excited about this.
Ilya?
I have a question.
Sure.
Vladislav, you said about sharing economy as a business for companies. What do you think about sharing economy as a sharing business? For example, decentralized Facebook or some decentralized Airbnb, for example. Is it possible? What do you think? Is it possible to make management of any business company in blockchain? And
well, basically, yeah, I understand the question. Well, when I said sharing economy, I meant it in a much broader term. Basically including what you just mentioned, centralization of social network, network, and many other things. Let's talk a little about social networks. I think it's not just possible, it's a must think what should happen in the near future. Because basically currently in a social media, we do not capitalize on the data we provide to the service provider. For example, I feed Facebook with tons of data about my behavior of my friends, my preferences, and I have nothing out of this. So basically yes. Facebook earned tons of money yes. reselling this data, my data, to somebody else, right? Decentralization of social network will make the world much more fair and effective from economical point of view, and will shift the power, will shift the ownership of my data back to me.
Yes.
So that's one of the revolutionary example. Another thing is sharing economy in the sense that we have tons of all kind of devices, computing equipment all across the globe, which is substantially underutilized. So which means like you have, if we talk about your case, Wi-Fi router or certain computer somewhere else, which probably has, I don't know, 5-10% probably you use or some average person use for 5-10% of its capacity. So think about if you can give this computing power back to the network and through very well structured decentralized way give available in a secure way, make it available for companies or people to store data or process certain applications. That's from economical point of view make a huge input, huge change in the way we utilize our devices or whatever assets we own. So we can earn additional, we can generate additional revenue stream from pretty much any assets we have in the sharing economy paradigm.
It looks like communism. A little bit, maybe.
Well,
kind of, yes. And by the way, there is a book about this radical markets, which talk about that communism as an idea was very utopic.
Yes.
And was quite often used by dictators to basically to take the power, right? Yes. But there was no tools and there was no technology to make world much more fair, much more efficient. And with it, blockchain and new technologies, which is emerging very fast nowadays, we believe that some of the ideas, not all, might be possible in a good sense. So, I mean, people who can create value, they will get the highest reward because there will be no intermediate, right? So that's why I think it's interesting dynamics. And
yes.
We are living in a very interesting times.
Yes,
it's in the way world of Wi-Fi does exactly that for the telecom equipment, right? You create a sharing of Wi-Fi routers, thereby removing the need to have underutilized assets out there.
I asked about sharing business because World Wi-Fi don't just give for you possibilities to share your bandwidth, your internet channel, share your Wi-Fi. We share our business. All our customers is a part of our business, and active customers who works with us have most part of business income. Other customers have smaller parts of business income. Our team just take 5%, just 5% transaction commission, and we make decentralized business, not only share.
So to stay on the topic, but kind of get back to just the sharing economy in general, we certainly have seen extremely profitable use cases. Obviously, Airbnb is profitable now. Uber can be profitable, at least according to them. We don't know for sure, but they claim they can be if they want it to be. Do you see, we discussed this cloud computing use case. You mentioned distributed social media use cases. Those don't seem to be profitable at the moment. Do you think it's just too early and the future is ahead of them, or those are just really hard use cases in general?
Well, I think it's too early. If you look back, there was a lot of disruptive technologies in the past that took them 5 and sometimes 7 years to become profitable. So we are still at a very early stage of blockchain adoption, and for this reason I can tell you that there are very few cases where really certain applications which are in production use, and but the things changing very fast. So I would say within the next few years, 2, 3, 5 years, we'll see a lot of interesting applications and a lot of profitable company. I'd like to address the first question from Ilya about sharing business. I guess he meant, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but blockchain and sharing economy, in the sense he meant, can it make more fair or more easy for employees of certain companies or customers of certain companies to get a stake or to get a profit share or to be engaged much deeper with, let's say, blockchain and other technologies. I believe it is possible and it's happening. For example, tokenization of certain businesses make it much easier for employees to be engaged with the company business and get some rewards if the company is successful.
Mm-hmm.
So compared to option programs or stock awards programs, we know from the past, the ICO and tokens and the way how you can reward your employees is much easier, much more specific. It's liquid and all kind of things, all kind of benefits. Also sharing business, it's again, I return back to my comment that anyone, would it be individual person or corporation or a small business or business owner who possesses certain assets, including business assets. If, for example, your business assets are not utilized enough, you can share this with many others, right?
You mean that in perfect future we decrease difference between owners and customers?
Of course, it will become, well, it substantially reduce the gap.
Yes.
And the difference between business and customers. They will be much higher dependent on each other, but they will have more common interest. So that's the trend, yeah, obviously.
Would it make customers more loyal? I mean, we certainly have seen loyalty programs everywhere, right? We know they work.
Yes.
Is this in a way a loyalty program?
Small steps to the future.
More loyal and more proactive. If they don't like, they don't just go away from you.
Right.
They will come back to you, fix it.
Yeah.
Because it's also about their pocket and about their profits.
Correct. So, but that also creates an interesting conundrum. For example, shareholders of Facebook don't want privacy, right? As a user of Facebook, you may want privacy, but as a shareholder, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So there are certainly issues to work out there, by making everyone a shareholder. Well, what do you really do? What are your incentives, right? You change the incentives culture. So some use cases, I think, will have problems with it, right? So let's talk about that in terms of sort of cultural influences on the sharing economy. We know that in some places we have seen adoption just skyrocket, and in other places you really see adoption kind of being much slower. Any comments? You know, we certainly know world of Wi-Fi.
It's so easy because, for example, for world Wi-Fi, for our cases, in different countries, we see very different customers. Mm-hmm. In some countries, only big telecom operators want to work with us, and they look for possibilities. It's very interesting for them. In other countries, just customers, just private persons, just people who understand these possibilities and want to work with it. Of course, we have different cultures. We have some countries with very strong and dictators government, but in these legislations, some people want more freedom and want some more part of sharing economy. In some countries where people don't think about freedom, they already have freedom. They don't think about okay, I want to be just a customer. I want just invest, for example, and earn my income a bit later on exchanges, but I don't want work in this project. It's for telecom companies, for other companies, not for me. Of course, we have very different cultures. And I don't understand what is the question. Of course it's so, of course it's different.
Well, it's really the difference in adoption, right? I
yes.
mean, we know that adoption in different places is different for various reasons. What are those reasons? Why are we seeing the explosion of ICOs with blockchain, far outpacing in Asia than in the United States? Is it regulation that's the problem, or a solution, or is it because there is a kind of unserved need? Right? Normally, you see that when there is an unserved need of some kind. We know cryptocurrencies are very popular in Korea. Why is that? Do you guys have any ideas? Is it
Well, we can just only guess.
Speculate. Let's speculate
here. Well, first of all, I think the first wave of ICO we've seen for the last probably 2 years, it's very speculative, and 90%, maybe more, will fail badly, and substantial part of this ICO which fails was from day one is a kind of scam.
Right.
And people understood it who started this. So I guess maybe there is some cultural thing where people more risky, more kind of gamble-like mindset in certain countries, and have a good sense for easy money, or whatever you say about them. But I'm trying to be politically correct.
Sure.
So, but I think that could be one of the explanation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I'd like to say that, but it's changing very fast. And by the way, any new technology which came up probably for the last 200 years of human history started at early stage with a kind of scams. We've seen it many times.
Railroads in the United States,
Yes,
internet
yes.
in the late 90s.
So I think it's a kind of part of the game. Like
Right.
when you have new technology and people want to earn quick bucks, they will do it if there is opportunity to do so. But the good news, it's changing very fast right now. I would say this year, next year, we will see more ICOs or just blockchain startups,
Mm-hmm.
which will first launch beta version or even alpha version of their products. Most likely they will validate this product with the first set of customers, with the customers,
Right.
like see if they serve certain need and solve certain problem. And so customer ready to pay certain fee for this.
Mm-hmm.
So then they probably will come up with much better business plan and financial plan, and then they will try to raise money using ICO or new ways to raise money. Moreover, even during these cases, I think funding of these companies will not be 100% kind of through tokens. It will be probably hybrid model where they will do venture investors probably, and a certain amount of money they will raise institutional money, and a certain amount of money they probably go to public,
Mm-hmm.
and they will raise this money through public through ICO, by the way, in a much regulated and a predictable way compared to what it was like a year ago, where we've seen pretty much wild west, very chaotic way people raise money. So I think that's the major changes which
Mm-hmm.
happening right now.
So go ahead.
Yes, and what do you think for last year? We see many ICOs, we see some too much scam project, but now it's harder and harder to start ICO project, and investors already can understand what kind of project is interesting for investing, what kind is a really scam. We have many benchmarks, some people, some professionals in this market, but little bit government regulation. What do you think? Is it self-regulated market? Maybe not right now, but maybe we look for first step of self-regulation ICO market.
Well, first of all, the self-regulation already happening, but I think we shouldn't fool ourselves thinking that the governments, all kind of governments from different countries, will leave this story the way it was last year. I think we already see like substantial push from all governments to regulate and formalize and come up with some legal framework for all new things which blockchain and offer to the market, to the community. The only question, well, first of all, there is a lot of self-regulation going on. There is companies which do scoring, ratings, assessment of ICOs, all kind of things. Also, there is new ways how you can raise money and how this money can be available to you depending where you project and depending if you keep your commitments. So the money not available to you immediately. It can be released only if you reach a certain milestone you promised. So however, I think, and we already see certain regulations in the United States, in Japan, in Singapore, in Switzerland, many countries already start implementing certain regulations, and there are more come. More will come within the next 12 months.
So do you think regulation will help institutional money to flow into the market? I mean, it seems like we hit a ceiling of sorts in the ICO marketplace. So is regulation going to help us get more investors from around the world into the ICO market when the regulation happens?
It definitely will. Of course, it really depends what kind of regulation we'll see, because it would be too harsh, too aggressive towards blockchain, or stupid, basically blocking certain developments, it will not help, because even if money goes to the market but there is no startups, so like, okay, the new economy is not developing.
Right.
So I think it should be very well balanced, very well thought through regulation. Then we will see the good match between institutional money and tons of innovation which is happening right now in the blockchain community. That will be ideal scenario for the blockchain technology all across the globe. By the way, I'd like to, just when you ask about cultural differences, blockchain, one story, a real story came up to my mind. I have a 24-year-old son. He's deeply involved in artificial intelligence. He has a project called Iceberg, and it's a kind of artificial intelligence, big data in sports analytics. So, and we've been thinking if we can do something in a blockchain. So he came to one of the very experienced person in Canada. I will not call his name, but and actually two guys was trying to take this discussion with my son, and we just realized, as he says, that about 60-70% of people who are behind ICOs are either Russian-speaking or from Russia or somehow connected to Russia.
To them,
yeah, and those two gentlemen from United States asked, why do you think so? Well, as I say, I don't know, maybe because they're very easy to get the quick money. They're very easy to go and earn quick money. So anyway, there's definitely cultural differences. I think we, in particular, young, creative, talented programmers from Russia, definitely very fast and easy to experiment with new technology and new economic models.
Especially since so much cryptography and security programming is involved, right? So this is sort of an interesting field. A lot of Eastern European speakers, people from Eastern Europe are involved. There's certainly a lot of people from Asia as well. And in the United States, the regulations has always been there, right? Getting your startup funded was actually possible, right? The rest of the world didn't have that luxury. And now with Ethereum, particularly with Ethereum and what the smart contracts have done, now you can do an ICO and you can make it global. And I think it actually meets the needs of both sides, right? From the innovators' perspective, which they need funding and they need funding as soon as possible. And from the investment community, they need new ideas. They need something fresh. So to that effect, something fresh in the sharing economy, world of Wi-Fi, how does that play into sort of sharing your equipment, right? So you have an idea where you're sharing your router. What does that actually mean for the end users and for the people who are doing the sharing?
I think our auditory already knows about it. Okay, I'll repeat. It's very simple. For example, just imagine for you perfect world in the future. Robocar. Yes, you have Robocar. Robocar Self-driving car, and you go to your job, to your office, and then you works. Your robocar works in Uber and make money for it. It's very good idea, but we don't have so many and so cheap self-driving cars. Yes, and in fact, sharing is. We need some things. We need one device, and the device need to works itself without people attention, without human attention. And the second, this device need to make some profit for any people, not for only for you. For example, your cooking combine can't make profit for anybody, just for you. And in fact, in the world already built worldwide Wi-Fi network. You can stay in any place in the world and you look for many Wi-Fi networks, private, denied. You can't have access to internet by them. But we give simple solution. Anybody can connect their routers to our platform. Router starts second network. Second network is a guest network. Everybody who connects watch for advertising impressions, and the router owners have income from it. It's very simple. For advertisers, we save all history of advertising company for each point, and we give this data to advertisers for free.
Does this become sort of one of those use cases that reach people in real life? We have a question here. So how does blockchain and cryptocurrencies really touch people in real life? Very few people currently are touched by blockchain, and certainly touched by cryptocurrencies. Do you foresee this as one of the ways where blockchain allows people to do something new in a more effective way?
Yes, but in our case, it's possible that customers don't know that he's using blockchain. We need, all of us need to understand that blockchain is just technology. With some amazing possibilities, but it's just technology, like internet some years ago. And now, unfortunately, many people and many companies wants to add blockchain to their business and thinks that it looks good, but it's not so. Because, for example, in world Wi-Fi, world Wi-Fi is impossible without blockchain. It's just impossible. We can't using banking system or transaction in fiat money to make these transactions. And we're using blockchain to save database for advertisers. To save, of course, we save only hash because all database is too big to save in blockchain now. But we can be sure that nobody will corrupt this database. And we're using blockchain to make a simple referral system, decentralized business. I said about it. But in the most part of companies, we're looking for blockchain like investment tool. Just like investment tool. In most ICOs, it's just only for money, for simple investments. It's of course it's a good investment tool too. But
you mentioned something. I think that was important. Everything you do is powered by blockchain, and I guess that's a question for Vladislav as well. A lot of the companies that have blockchain built into everything, they have problem with scalability. Is it something that's solvable? Is it something that you guys don't see as a problem going forward? We certainly had a summit just very recently to discuss a lot of it. Can you kind of talk about scalability? I know you guys are running on top of Ethereum. We'll get to why in a second, but if everything is blockchain, do we have a scalability problems on our hands?
Well, the first, speed and scalability is not necessary for every single application on the blockchain. There are certain applications which it doesn't work unless you have good scalability. There's certain applications you can use with what you have now.
Right.
So saying that, yes, there was a EdCon educational conference in Toronto a week ago, where Ethereum Foundation team presented in a very detailed and a very specific way latest developments they've been working on and how the scalability issue will be solved. So this is publicly available information. If you go on YouTube and type EdCon 2018, you'll find basically video from all these presentations. So, but I'd like to come back to previous comments Ilya made, because I think if we talk about how blockchain applicable for sharing economy or in general to any other markets or user cases, I think what is important is, in particular for sharing economy, let me start with that, is there is something, certain services or product should be substantially cheaper or low cost compared to what I currently have. Something what is done should be substantially easy to use and hassle-free service or product compare what I'm currently have.
Right.
So, and something what will be offered should be substantially safer and more secure what I'm currently have. So if companies, startups, which created something that doesn't is not in line with these three criteria, then I think, well, how to say, it's not a scam, but there is no reason to use any new technology unless you have a kind of quantum leap or like substantially few times better than it used to be with previous technology. So, or if you create with new technology completely new type of services which suddenly generate you revenue or create user experience which you couldn't imagine, but it's really cool for you. But unless you have these things, I would say the project doesn't have any chances to be successful. So from this perspective, it's pretty much applicable to sharing economy, to any other market segments where we talk about application of new technology.
You're just talking about things that, in the United States, this is how you grade startups, right? There are hundreds of ideas. How do you get to the ones who get funded, right? And the numbers are extremely low. You always hear about the success stories, so sort of success bias, right? We hear the same thing, by the way, with ICOs. ICOs fail all the time. And we'll get to kind of ICO market state in a little bit here, but we know that that's true. We know that they should fail and they shouldn't raise all the money because they don't fill the criteria you just kind of described.
As far as I understood, in the case with World Wi-Fi, the substantial savings is you don't pay. It's not possible to provide these services what they plan to provide if you go with conventional model using kind of conventional banks, because the bank's fees kill the whole economic model, and the service become not attractive, and there is no incentives for any consumer to jump or anybody to jump on the service. But the fact they use blockchain, in particular they use the internal tokens of cryptocurrency, which can be used in a kind of in a certain inter-ecosystem settlements, let's put it this way, they save a lot of money not paying certain fees to banks.
You just said something extremely powerful and important. I think we have a lot of questions of people misunderstanding what blockchain Bitcoin is all about. And I'll actually refer back to Chairman of Federal Reserve in the United States, Bernanke, who was in charge when Bitcoin was being legalized in the United States. And he said, Bitcoin is important for the speed of money through the economy. It was neither positive nor negative comment. It was just, it's important. And I think that's what Ethereum is all about. This is what World of Wi-Fi is taking advantage of. The speed of money movement through a blockchain-powered economy is so much faster, so much more effective, cheaper, that it enables startups that previously couldn't exist. It's sort of, is it the right, is it this?
I think it's absolutely, well, it's not what I said it's slightly different, but you're right with your statement. And by the way, if you look back to history, every time we find a new form of money, from stones to coins, from coins to paper, from paper to electronic money, every time the speed increase substantially, which create a substantial new drivers for growth of economy in any country, which start introducing new type of not new type of money, but new form of money, right?
Yeah.
So I think this similarly happening with cryptocurrencies.
I wholeheartedly agree, but is it fair to say that in 10 years every company is powered by blockchain, or it just simply doesn't exist? You know, we said that in 2000 about the internet. We said if your company doesn't have internet in 10 years or 20 years, you will not exist. And taxi drivers were particularly saying, no way, we're gonna.
I can't say this every company, etc. But I think in 5-10 years time frame, blockchain as a technology will have mass adoption in all kind of human activities, not only businesses. You can find this in applications here and there. It's like internet. We can't live without internet now. Mobile phones, right? Probably will be the same. You can't do certain things without blockchain.
Do you agree with that? I mean, are we at the point?
Of course. Let's look to the past. Sometimes we didn't have money like this, like dollars, like rubles, like any other fiat money. As we said, sometimes ago we're using gold, silver, and something else to change. And after then they start in fiat economy, we increase volume of money, then volume of market was increased. Yes, but if you increase volume of money more fast than increased volume of market, you look for inflation. Inflation, yes, in English, inflation. Then you increase your market more fast when you increase volume of money, you look for some deflation. And it's a human factor. Some humans, some bankiers or people from government make some solution. Let's make a bit more money. Or don't make a bit more money. In blockchain, it's, to my mind, it's the next step to this economy. It's not like a gold. Somebody speaks that Bitcoin, it's digital gold. No, it's not gold. Because if you don't using Bitcoin, you decrease volume of market for Bitcoin. If you're using Bitcoin, you increase volume of market. And it's self-regulated system of course, in the perfect, of course, in the future. And now we see many other cryptocurrencies, many blockchain solutions for different markets, for different purpose. And to my mind, it's just next step of economy. That's all.
So, just taking the conversation slightly back to regulatory regime, we know regulation is probably coming, it's going to help us. Do you guys at Ethereum Foundation and at World Wi-Fi, do you guys cooperate with governments to implement the technology, or is it you guys are still completely separated and we're kind of in parallel tracks here?
Look, I can't speak for Ethereum Foundation because I represent Ethereum Competence Center. That's
sure,
Ethereum Foundation. It's a non-commercial foundation which do research and development in a technological platform. But we, as the Ethereum Competence Center, from time to time interact with different governments, well, it really depends from country to country. As I said earlier during our discussion, some countries trying to understand the technology the potential of this technology and the way they can apply this technology on a very detailed level. And after they reach this understanding, they try gently to adjust the legislation. Well, some companies trying to be very fast with decisions what to do, so it's really still in the process. I mean, sooner or later we will see finalize and crystallize the legal framework, which I believe will be quite similar. I can make this guess, quite similar in most part of the world, like in Western world and the Eastern world. Well, exception might be China. They might come up with something different. Some exceptions could be in the small countries with relatively weak economies, because these small countries, they're trying to use this technology to make a kind of breakthrough. Maybe they will do more friendly legislation towards this technology, towards the cryptocurrency. So it's we'll see. Next year will be very interesting from this perspective.
Are you guys cooperating with any kind of government entities? Are they helping you? Are they hindering you? Sort of how do you guys look at it? You're going to operate worldwide.
In most governments helping us because it depends of countries, of course. In some countries, for example, we need identificate all Wi-Fi users. For example, in Russia. In any countries, in another countries, we don't need to identificate. But we have some countries, their router owners is only telecom companies, no private router owners. It's of course it's too much depends from government for loyalty, and I think we don't have this problem. Now, our lawyers looks for different countries, make some documents, and we work in different countries.
Generally, I guess the overall, if the governments don't help, then they don't want faster internet, which means typically in the modern world there's slower economic growth, right? So it's important for them to cooperate with you guys.
Yes, it's important for them.
Yeah, so we have some questions certainly from, we have some, you guys have a lot of African investors. They're a big market for you.
Yes.
Can you comment a little bit about the deployments in Africa? What are you planning? We had questions yesterday from Morocco as well. So can you talk a little bit about that?
We already said that we're building decentralized business. And for us, if some government will be part of this business, it's very good. It could be government, it could be some existing telecom business, it could be some people. We give equal possibilities for all. We just, like Ethereum Foundation, make, it's not business, it's a research company, and for us we business, but we give software, we give some practice, but our company is built by customers.
So we have some questions coming sort of slightly differently from the technology perspective. We'll continue the theme of kind of Ethereum versus other technologies. Can we talk a little bit about Lightning Network? That's been the hot news over the last few months. They famously removed Bitcoin from their name and all the mentions of Bitcoin. Now they regret it. Now they don't mind it too much, at least according to their CEO from the last few conferences where they spoke. So can we talk about Lightning versus Ethereum? How do the two technologies, are they complementary or are they competitive? Vlad, I guess this is for you.
I think both communities trying to solve scalability problem and a speed problem. So each of them trying to do it in the best possible way. So from this perspective, I don't know what kind of answer you expect from it, because look, it's pretty much to ask like, oh, Bitcoin is Ethereum, is it competitors? My answer would be yes and no. No, because Ethereum developing universal platform which allows to create applications, to create smart contracts, to create certain program code, software code, and run it in a blockchain architecture, and which open opportunities for all kind of different applications be based on the Ethereum platform, right? Where Bitcoin is much more narrow user case as a currency, right? As a payment currency. So so that's why I believe we are not competitors. But you know, when I first my first job was in a Pepsi, and then when I came the first day, there was like orientation program, and the trainer asked me, who do you know the biggest competitor to Pepsi? Everybody says Coca-Cola. No, the answer is wrong. Water supplier in the city or municipality, water supplier is a competitor, because whoever supplies a liquid which people can drink is a competitor to Pepsi. So from this perspective, yes, right? But to be honest, to be professional, to be specific, I don't believe at this stage we would consider this as a competition. I think the whole market, the whole technology, at so early stage that they usually help each other with ideas. They share ideas. It's open source. Any idea which came up in our R&D team, immediately available on a portal for everybody else. So I think it's community which you don't have these terms, competitor or not competitor. Maybe for the people who is buying Ether or Bitcoin, they kind of, oh, which one I should go? They consider this a kind of competition, but internally developers and researchers, they don't see it as a competition.
Yeah, from the technology perspective, it is not, those are not competing platforms, they're complementary. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, certainly we're in agreement about that. But when you do an ICO, you typically do it on Ethereum. You guys are using Ethereum. How was your ICO process in general? We'll talk about the market in a minute, probably ask a lot about sort of what's going on with the market, but you just did it. You guys are wrapping up your ICO, so you've been at it for the last few months. Can you tell us about the process?
It was amazing. It's one of most interesting things in my life. In fact, I'm not a public person. In the past, now I'm a public person, unfortunately. For me, I was too much surprised that we need to be more and more transparent. It's really interesting. Then you speaks about something in your company for community. You thinks about it one more and from a different point of view. And about customers, in the start of our company, they thought that our customers is private persons only. But later we understand that telecom companies won't work with us because we monetize their Wi-Fi networks for free. For them, it's amazing possibilities. About technological part, Ethereum is a very, very good platform. Very simple, very transparent. We can show all of our purpose in our smart contracts. We can using Ethereum smart contracts for work with our Russian подрядчики, in English.
Supplier vendors. Or outsourced teams.
Yes, outsourced teams. Because unfortunately now on ICO market, outsourced teams not so good as we want to look at. And smart contracts solve this problem very simple. In fact, I think it's all. It's very interesting. Very good.
So ICOs in general, kind of the state of the market today. A lot of people are interested about that. They always ask, is it worth starting your own ICO today? Is it the process that you're just going to get swamped with regulation, it's too much work, or is it something still possible for the right idea?
Well, it's definitely much work, and I think it's for good, because basically that was not good to collect tons of money when you just write a piece of paper describing your idea. It's just fundamentally wrong. So I think what is happening now, people realize that they need to get a kind of angel money first. They need to develop the business plan, ideally to have MVP or maybe even the first version, release this version, and then if they have proof of concept, if they validate it with market, they create a certain services or product which has certain demand, a certain market niche, then you can go and use this way to raise additional funds to scale your business. This is important. So I think that's my perspective of the state. Of course, there might be some companies who want to use this opportunity to get money at early stage, but I think it will not work because people became smarter. I mean, investors and market itself.
They became better at it. Yeah, that's good. That's always good. So I understand you guys have something like 14,000 access points out there. Can you talk a little bit about advertisers that are interested in the current network, and what do you foresee the advertisers been interested the most as you roll this out?
Like said Vladislav, looks like he said about our case. We have a team, we have existing business, we have a business model, we have software. We have already 14,000 hotspots in B2B segment, and now we're using blockchain to scale it worldwide. And we're using token for utility purpose, not only for money. We're using ICO for marketing purpose, not only for money. But I don't know how to explain it for all. It's very difficult because it's too much noise around us. Too much noise. Buy our tokens and you earn much money. Buy, sell. So it's very, very fun. You asked what we have already. We already have two existing business. One of them is Radius Wi-Fi. It's a hotspot building business. We sell hotspot solution in hotels, airports, restaurants, and many other places. Now we work in about 100 cities with many partners who resell our solution. And we have Adrenta. Adrenta sell advertisement in hotspots. Then you look for some advertise, then you connect to hotspots in any hotel or restaurant, for example. Maybe you look for, you watch our solution. But it works in B2B segment because we need payment, banking, and some papers. We need to buy place advertising placement from a hotspot owner and sell it to advertiser. We need to have some difference between this cost, like our profit. It's too many middlemen, too many troubles who these troubles, these middlemen burn advertisers' money. In fact, then you as advertiser using $1,000 for advertising company, in fact you're using just $400. All of other your money is burned by middlemen. That's why one of things why we're using blockchain for it. Then they connect advertiser and router owner P2P. We save for advertiser above 40% of their money.
Yeah, the local advertising, I guess it's important to mention, is the most expensive, is when you understand the kind of people walking through your store or the coffee shop,
Yes.
and understanding where they are and why they're there is usually contextual to the location where they're at, and that is by far the most expensive advertising out there. So you guys give an ability to advertisers to target, or even to the coffee shop owners to create advertising for their own store. It could be coupons, right? What kind of advertising do you guys typically see?
Any kind of advertisers, but the first we test all hotspots, all points. We're using CPA model to test what kind of advertise works in this hotspot. And after we give this data, this information to advertisers, and advertisers buy advertising using previous data, using historical data. For example, in airport, we sold mobile games. With conversion was above 2% from view to buy. It's amazing conversion,
right.
As you know. In yoga centers and gyms, we sold vegan food delivery with conversion about 6%. It's amazing conversion, but it is possible only in few, if you have few things. You need a place, you need the people, you already test what kind of advertise people like. That's all, it's simple.
So we're starting to wrap the conversation up, and this has been the hottest topic everywhere over the last few weeks. Stable currencies for the crypto markets. Are they good? Are they bad? Do they miss the point? Vlad, go.
Well, I think the reason why people talk so much about this because Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and that means that Bitcoin cannot deliver on main promise to become a currency to pay for certain services or exchange between people because high volatility. So that's how the stablecoin kind of emerged as a hype topic. And there is different projects, but none of them delivered pretty good stablecoin we could use. Probably there was only one exception, which is still controversial. It's Tether.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, particularly for crypto traders who constantly buy and sell cryptocurrency, it's much easier to convert and fix the profit or fix the rate, converting a certain high volatile cryptocurrency into stablecoin. It's still crypto assets, and because one of the painful process right now, it's moving any cryptocurrency into fiat currency. So that solved the problem. So you can have another crypto assets backed by either gold or commodities or certain currencies, government currencies like US dollars or euro, and make a quick fixing of the rate or fixing the profit. And also certain stable coins can serve this need to do payments to each other, cross-border payments. Another thing is a big problem, which big roadblock, which holding back blockchain by adoption of enterprise and businesses and a lot of business applications, because again, one of the role of crypto assets, cryptocurrency in these business applications to remove banks or intermediate to do intercompany settlements or payments. So with current cryptocurrencies with high volatility, you can't do it. So business application is not a kind of taking the market and apply to certain businesses and implement it in certain businesses. So as soon as we will see very strong stable coin, which is backed by certain assets in a very transparent, very secure way, because again, Tether is a kind of big question marks.
We couldn't audit it, right?
Yeah, we couldn't audit it. We don't know if there is real money there backing this. So a lot of things. So as soon as we have really good, respected transparent stablecoin project, I think it will really have a good success and will have a great demand by certain companies, businesses, startups developing certain business applications, and all kind of people who want to pay in crypto assets, do cross-border sales, or who trade with cryptocurrency, want to fix profit and rates, etc., etc. So I believe in this concept. I think it's really
So it's not hype.
It's not hype. It will help to accelerate adoption of blockchain technology broadly.
Yeah, so we kind of outlined a couple of things that will help blockchain in general, right? We looked at some use cases, but then we looked at regulation will help bring institutional money in. We do need new technology. We talked about scalability.
Exactly.
Yeah, how that will help a lot. We talked about stable currencies, right? We need those to be able to fix a particular price or a rate. That's required for sort of our development. That's sort of a nice roadmap for the entire market. And then we looked at sharing economy, which I think is sort of a big deal going forward, and blockchain enables sharing economy to flourish. So that's important. I think we have a couple of more items we wanted to cover. We have some, I guess, big news. Do we have big news coming? We don't know. Maybe not. We'll find out in a few minutes. We've said that we will have some big news today, and co-founders of World of Wi-Fi are feverishly trying to figure out: are they going to do this? Are they going to announce it? Or are they going to wait a few days? Let's stay in suspense.
While we're staying in suspense, I think for World Wi-Fi, I can give you a small advice. It's better to start with India and some African countries where sharing itself, starting from smartphones or mobile phones, is basically a part of the culture. They use one phone for the family. They have, and particularly if we talk about some African countries, very bad access to the banking system because it's very expensive for them to have bank accounts, and also access to internet and the knowledge, global network knowledge is also quite limited in a certain countries. So your project might be, and they're much easier from regulation point of view.
We
If you show them the way how to solve their fundamental problems.
We already works with about 20 people from Africa, from Nigeria, from Cameroon, from I don't remember all of countries. These guys tests their routers, for working with our software and our platform, and I think as soon as possible we will start point of rise, point of growth in Africa too.
Okay.
This is great. I guess we are wrapping this up. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Vladislav. Thank you, Ilya. And we are looking forward to seeing you guys again. And thank you for the guest.
Thank you.
Thanks.